This is Salam Radio, Peterborough's Muslim community radio. Broadcasting on 106.2 FM and online.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Community Connection with Eva and Nisha. This is our second full show. Thank you very much for joining us. And if you haven't tuned in before, this is the show where we showcase what community. The show is going to be full of opportunities for partnership working as well. And it's all about highlighting how you can get involved in the community and some of the key players who are doing a lot of work. So, Assalamu alaikum, Nisha.
Walaikum salam, Eva.
Sorry, Nisha, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. I think the mic's on now.
Sorry, bear with us whilst we get to grips. And we're joined by a special guest today, Bilal. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Tell us a bit about yourself and which organisation you represent.
Yeah, so I'm Bilal. I represent the Amir Khan Academy Top Yard School of Boxing, Peterborough. Yeah.
MashaAllah. Well, thank you very much for joining us. And today we are going to be talking about knife crime. So it's a challenging topic, something that affects people very deeply. And we're going to touch not just on the statistics, but also the real stories of how knife crime affects people. But also in the second half of the show, we're going to touch on what's being done to prevent young people in Peterborough from getting drawn into the world of knife crime. But to start with, Nisha, we're going to take a look at some of the statistics in Peterborough and across the UK. So tell us a bit about the prevalence of weapons possession in Peterborough.
Okay, so I have a few stats just to show what the situation is in Peterborough. The stats might seem like they're very low, but you have to take in context, as in it's a full stat from the whole of Cambridgeshire, and I'm trying to hone down into Peterborough specific. So specifically, in 2025, knife crime statistics of Peterborough have been reported from the 12 months ending July 2025 and early 2025, showing that possession of weapons incidents in Peterborough, a category that includes knife-related crimes, totaled 1,000 and increased by 6.6% year over year. While the overall trend for serious violence in Cambridgeshire, which includes Peterborough, saw a reduction in early 2025, more detailed crime-specific data for knife crime for that period is not provided in these reports. More specifically, I have got some connections with the police who I spoke to today, and they have provided a statistic of 7 incidents of possessions of weapons within the last month. That may seem quite low, but for Peterborough being such a small city, that is quite a high figure.
Definitely. And these are figures that have been shared by the police, right, through your partnership working with them. So knife crime is a challenge in Peterborough, whilst we might not be up in some of the highest local authorities and geographies across the UK. But there have been some key cases in the past 20 years that have really brought knife crime to the top of the agenda. Nisha, I wonder if you can tell us a bit more about some of the incidents on a national level that have increased the profile of knife crime and some of those landmark events.
Yes, definitely. So there are just a handful that I just want to highlight. And the shocking thing about these cases, the majority of these cases are the age of the victims, very young, like from basically teenagers. And I'm going to go through that with you. So in 2003, one of the landmark cases was the Luke Wolseley case, where a 14-year-old boy was fatally stabbed in school, highlighting the vulnerability of young people in the presence of knives in educational settings. The Tom Rees Price case in 2007 was where a lawyer was killed during a robbery, bringing attention to the intersection of knife crime with organised crime and robbery. Another one, which is the Southport inquiry in 2025, the most recent one, where it was launched to examine the events of leading up to the attack in Southport, which is expected to provide significant insights into decision making by public bodies and contribute to know how knife crime is understood and addressed. So these are like a few of them. I will talk about the Stephen Lawrence case after the break, which has also highlighted social issues around knife crime and how we can tackle it within the community.
Definitely. It's such a broad challenge, and not just because, as you've mentioned, and we'll speak a bit about Stephen Lawrence and his case later and some of the systemic issues that have been highlighted by knife crime, but it's also beyond the statistics, something that deeply affects individuals and has dramatically changed their lives and led to lots of stories that it's important that especially young people in the community are aware of. And that leads us on to our special guest for today, Bilal. I wonder if you can tell us a bit about your story with knife crime and how it's played a role in your life personally.
Yeah, so I mean, going back to all the statistics and everything that you mentioned, I mean, I remember back in the days, normally disputes used to be handled by a way of fighting, fist fights. But unfortunately, over the years, I think the first thing people do is pick up a knife because they think that's the best way to, show that you're brave and big. I mean, knife crime stems from basically drug dealers carrying it to attack each other, any kind of disputes. First thing people want to do is not fight, but then they use knives. And they think that they're being big and brave, but obviously they're, just a sign of being a coward, really. That falls on to, I was a victim of a knife crime. In my early 20s, a long time ago, I was at university in Nottingham. And I remember there was a lot of trouble around that time as well. And I experienced it myself. But, there was one way of dealing with things and something, you don't ever think of, carrying anything with you or using a weapon, because the minute you carry a weapon and you use it, you're looking at 5 years plus jail time. So I think people used to think twice about that. But I think nowadays people don't fear that at all. So I remember in my early 20s, there was a bit of trouble going on, and I was trying to make sure that my mates weren't involved. And as you go in a crowd, and basically, I saw a bit of pushing and shoving going on, tried to split it, and then out of nowhere, someone stabbed me. Obviously, I felt a really sharp pain, and I looked around thinking, looked around thinking, what's going on here? So basically, had a look, and I could see like a little hole in my stomach, and blood gushing out, and I just squeezed it, looked up, see who done it, started chasing them. I think my brother was there as well, and a few other guys, and. It wasn't, obviously it's not pleasant, but obviously it's something that happened. Then I remember going to hospital, and I was there for a week. So unfortunately, what they had to do was they had to operate on me, which has actually cut me open because I had a tear in my intestine and bowel. So there was like 36 staples or stitches and stroke staples they had to put on. And that basically took quite a while to recover. And that was one of the reasons why I couldn't box anymore, because I couldn't pass the medical. That is something that I went through, an unprovoked attack, and the person who done it went on for a year, and he got 3.5 years jail time, and that was his first offence.
Yeah, so that was what was the shocking thing, that because we were casually talking, weren't we? We were talking about boxing, Top Yard, the project, and I think it was in our meeting where you casually mentioned it to me, and I was like, what? Like, you'll be stabbed? You don't come across that every day, but then obviously with what you've achieved and what you're giving back to the community, to me that's a community hero.
Oh, thank you.
Mashallah.
But mashallah. But that's why I thought it would be good for you to come on the show, because I'm sure everyone knows you more than I do, because I'm not from Peterborough. But those things are what I'd like to highlight to the youngsters, to show how you've kind of been through it as a victim. And there's a lot of life skills you probably learned from it, and you probably, in my opinion, that's something that you're giving back with the discipline that you have and stuff. So mashallah, that's something that this whole show is about, highlighting people like yourself to come on and just tell stories that aren't really out there.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So thank you for coming and sharing that. But what would you say to youngsters about thinking twice about perhaps going into gang violence? Because sometimes kids, if you talk to them nowadays, they're like, oh, but it's nothing, I'm not doing anything with it, I've just it's in my pocket. But possession is an offence, isn't it? Yeah,
no, it definitely is. I mean, look, I think the problem we got now is because it's very common, people think, I'll carry it, I won't use it, but just in case I need it, it's there. Now, problem with that is police will stop you and search you, and if you've got it, you're in trouble straight away. So it's one of them things where, I mean, look, being through it myself and other sorts of stuff that's happened, in my earlier years, it'd be easy for me to say, look, try to avoid trouble, walk away from it. The most important thing is keep yourself busy, stay away from, a bad crowd. You are the company you keep.
Yeah.
So, I remember, because me and my brother used to box, we used to have friends that used to take advantage of that, and they probably want you to get involved in fights and violence, and because they know you can fight and back it up. But looking back, thinking, it's not the way forward. All it takes is hitting somebody once, even if it's a punch, and you could knock them out. If they've fell really badly and they're in a coma or they die, then you're getting done for manslaughter.
It's for the rest of your life. You've got something.
Exactly.
It's like a black spot on your record.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to get a job or do anything.
Some stats on penalties for custody sentences. So the maximum, possessing a weapon. This is for possessing a weapon. The maximum sentence for possession of offence is for 4 years custody. That's prison, and for young offenders, that's youth institutionalisation. If the offender has committed the same offence before or another relevant offence, such as threatening with an offensive weapon in a public place, they will face a maximum sentence of at least 6 months custody. And that's just like without stabbing someone, basically.
Yeah.
That's just having an offensive weapon or a knife. So I'd like to go back to, I think you mentioned you were brought up in Glaston Street?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about what you were exposed to there, and perhaps that's probably something that your life experience comes from?
Yeah, so obviously I grew up in Glaston Street and in the early 80s. And at that time it was quite different. I mean, yeah, you'd see a lot of, there was a big Asian community, Italian and West Indian people that were living there. And there wasn't any knife crime, but there were a lot of the kids were up to like smoking, drugs, taking gas. Them days, I think kids were really bored, so they never had computer games. Well, we did have computer games, but not as advanced as it is now. There's no technology, so people used to hang about all day outside on weekends, and probably parents just left them to it. I mean, I remember we used to daily go to the mosque and we used to study, and then obviously it was quite bad there, and my dad was very strict. He wouldn't let us out the house really, because he knew what was going on around the area.
Sounds good for you though.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely good, because obviously, you want to be with your mates, but a lot of them were getting up to no good, so you could be easily influenced. I still remember once I went to play football with the lads, and one of my mates, because he didn't bring his top with him, he had a box of cigarettes, and I was like, hey, what are you smoking for? He's like, oh, don't worry about it. Now, because we were playing football and we used to use our jackets as a post, he put the cigarettes in my pocket just so that then, he can take it back. But obviously, he forgot to take it out, and it was in my jacket. And I went home, and I remember my mum got my jacket, and she was going to put it in the wash, and she found cigarettes and told my dad. And oh my God, he was livid. But I even told him, look, they're not mine, they're so-and-so's. And he literally, without me knowing, he went outside all the way to find the purse, my friend, and said to him, are these yours? He said, yeah, uncle, they're mine. And that's why I got let off the hook. Yeah. But it just shows you got to have strict parents, especially especially nowadays. I think you need it.
Yeah. So, I was just going to say, so bringing it to life experience, which is something that we're trying to highlight and try to look for people to show their experiences to youngsters, because we're trying to do projects where we get people like yourself who have had live experiences to tell youngsters that, look, this is what can happen, and this is the sort of outcome of a mistake that you could make. So that's I'm always out to look for people who have those sort of experiences. If you are listening to the radio show and you have those experiences that you want to share with us, we're always looking for projects where you can visit schools and just speak to young people to make it a real thing, because there's not enough people coming forward to be community champions, and sometimes youngsters look up to community champions, and that's because of the absence of the youth sector provision that we have, and many other things that we'll touch on later on in the show. But over to you, Eva.
Yeah, and I'd be interested to ask you as well, Bilal, on that point of messages for young people. we spoke a bit about your upbringing before the incident at university, where you were a direct victim of knife crime, and also a bit about the experience you had in hospital afterwards. But how has that stuck with you throughout the rest of your life?
To be honest with you, I think a lot of people would have probably got really scared, or would have gone into a shell, or, you know, taken it really badly. But I guess, you don't get me wrong, at the time I was like, oh my God, you know, all I could think about was I was supposed to be like competing in boxing the following month. Then obviously I couldn't. And that's all I kept thinking about. And obviously, you know, thank Allah that, you know, I survived it, because, you know, and I kept telling myself it was written, you know, it happened, and it's one of them things that I can't change. You know, maybe, you know, my mum's prayers saved me, and, you know, that's what I kept thinking. So I think it was difficult, because I had to get over the fact that, how did this happen to me? Why did it happen to me? Going through court and regularly, and going through all that for a whole year. It wasn't easy, because the last thing I wanted was a person to get away with it. Obviously, alhamdulillah, I got convicted, and he's, you know, had to serve 3.5 years, and you know, justice was served. But yeah, overall, I think mentally I am strong, and I kept myself busy, and I kept, you know, I think faith helps as well. So through Islam, we're taught to, you know, be mentally strong, and that's the kind of mentality I had. And I didn't really think about it a lot. At times you have your moments, but where you think about it, but then you just think, you know, it was written, and alhamdulillah, I'm still here. I'm now, you know, active and can move around. And that brings us on to why, when I came out of university, I was thinking, do you know what? Boxing saved our lives in terms of getting away from what was happening in the area. And then, you know, once the boxing had finished, it was a case of, right, let's give something back to the community. And we started our club 9 years ago.
MashaAllah.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a bit about the work of the club later on in the show. But it sounds like that was a huge driving factor for you and what you went on to do, your experience. So tell us a bit about how you started building the club and how you found your footing in Peterborough.
Yeah, so that was part of when I came back. I mean, that was in my head all the time. I was actually looking to compete again in my mid-20s when I had felt that I was, you know, ready again, but there wasn't much happening in Peterborough. I would have had to move out of town and go Sheffield, where one of my friends went and turned professional, but I didn't want to do that, because I think I'd been away from home for like 4 years, and I just wanted to stay in Peterborough. And then, yeah, I think my brother started doing some sessions at the old Top Yard on York Road, and it started getting busy, and it was just like a boxercise session, and then it just started from there, and I started going to it, and from there people were like, oh, you know, my friends, and they want to send their kids, and they knew we did it for many years, and they just wanted to make sure their kids were doing something, whether it's self-defense or it's competing. And I think that's just how it started. And then from there we went and thought, right, let's do it properly, register the club under England Boxing, and then, you know, we just grew from there. And I think the most important thing is, the advice for the parents is, keep your kids busy. You know, keep an eye on them, see who their mates are. You know, if they're coming back home late at night, 9 times out of 10 they could be getting up to no good. I grew up from a very strict family, so I've been through it all. But that's the most important thing. If you let your kids alone, leave them alone, there's a lot of bad things out there, and they'll most likely get influenced.
I think there's a tough balance between, as a parent, not it's easy to become incredibly scared of the world around you, and that's difficult because there are some really challenging things out there that our young people are facing. So I think it's probably easy for parents to be overwhelmed with all of the risks that their children are facing. And I think another message there is, don't do it alone as a parent. There are community leaders out there, there are organisations out there that
reach out,
exactly, have, like yourself, have had up close and personal experience with issues like knife crime, who might be able to provide guidance that parents don't feel they can provide. It's the whole "it takes a village" thing, and there are groups out there in Peterborough who this is their bread and butter, this is their expertise. So for parents to reach out as well. Thank you for telling us more about
appreciate
your
it.
story.
Thank you.
And Top Yard is doing a huge amount in Peterborough with young people, and we will touch on that after the break. But Nisha, we've spoken a bit about, beyond the statistics, what knife crime can mean to people's lives, both in terms of the victims and all of the weight that comes with, firstly, physically recovering, but also the process of court and the process of how that changes your worldview and what you see to be important. And I'm sure it has huge implications for families as well. But also another thing knife crime reveals is some wider systemic issues. This particular crime has revealed a lot of issues in terms of particular communities and also the police force to some extent. So, Nisha, I wonder if you can tell us a bit about the Macpherson report and bring that into context.
Definitely. So there's something that was, it came about, it was quite a hot topic whilst I was at uni studying law at the time. So aspects of criminal law is where I was interested in it. So I'm just going to give a brief about what the Stephen Lawrence case was, which actually led on to the Macpherson's inquiry with the police in London. So Stephen Lawrence was murdered on the 22nd of April 1993 in an unprovoked racist knife attack in Eltham, South London. The inquiry into his murder, led by the late Sir William Macpherson, uncovered major failings in the police investigation and the way that Stephen Lawrence's family and his friend Dwayne Brooks were treated. The report, published in February 1999, was truly groundbreaking, leading to the major changes in the law, in policing, in the response to institutional racism and the treatment of racist crimes, and ultimately to 2 convictions for Stephen Lawrence's murder. Many of the findings and subsequent 70 recommendations made by the Stephen Lawrence inquiry focused on long-standing issues which remain as relevant today. Okay, so basically this incident that happened, it highlighted a lot of institutional flaws within the police force, also other things which I'm just going to give you a brief flavour of. And the one that I'm particularly going to focus on is confidence in policing among the BME communities. So that's one of the things that came out of the report. So the Macpherson's report called for it to be a ministerial priority that all police services increase trust and confidence in policing among minority ethnic communities. However, evidence to the inquiry shows that there is a significant problem with confidence in the police within black communities, particularly among young people. Adults from black and mixed ethnic backgrounds are less likely to have confidence in the police than adults from white or Asian backgrounds, and the confidence gap has widened over the last few years. 67% of white adults say they believe the police will treat them fairly, compared to 56% of black adults. All victims of crime should feel confident in turning to the police for help. That black people have much lower expectations than white people, that they will be treated fairly and with respect by the police is a matter of deep and serious concern. So the other things that came out of it was the racist incidents and victims of crime, the treatment of the family, which I won't delve into too much, and also recruitment and progression of BME officers and staff, the lack of, and also the treatment of how staff are treated within the police force. So these are things that came out of the report. So there is an element of institutional racism, we could say, but this is over 2 decades and there has been a lot of improvement since. So I work quite closely with the police, and Bilal and I will talk about the Alliance project after the break, where we're working together to kind of combat and look at solutions for young people thinking of to deter them to going into knife crime. But one of the other things was the investigation of the procedures of stop and search, which was highlighted by the report as well. And the interesting one that I've got here is one of the other issues, which is the use of police technologies and tools. So new policing technologies and powers have developed into decades since the Macpherson's report. For example, the MPS gang violence matrix, live facial recognition technology, or policing the coronavirus restrictions, which have raised similar kinds of questions about avoiding racial disparities, ensuring fairness in policing, and about the importance of sustaining confidence among minority ethnic communities. So racism and the police. The Macpherson's report found that racism was, in the last 2 decades, The report highlighted that Macpherson's report found that the racism was an important factor in the failure of the Metropolitan Police investigation into the Stephen Lawrence's murder. There is going to be a conclusion at the end, which I want to do after the break, if that's okay.
Of course. So, we've been speaking about knife crime for the first half of the show, and we've touched on some of the statistics across Peterborough and the wider UK. Brother Bilal has told us a bit about his experience of knife crime whilst at university and how that's driven his career. And Nisha's just given us some insight as well into the findings of the Macpherson report around some of the wider systemic challenges that knife crime has revealed, especially in the police. But the dialogue is open with the police and with the community and the council, and there's some fantastic things happening in Peterborough to reduce knife crime, both by working with young people and institutions. So we've been the Community Connection. Please join us after the break for more. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
Busy Bunnies Nurseries is where children grow and thrive. It's where your little ones will enjoy expert care, engaging activities and a warm, welcoming environment. Busy Bunnies Nurseries also provide great learning experiences in exceptional indoor and outdoor settings. So when looking for a loving, fun and safe place for your child, visit at 627 Lincoln Road, Peterborough, now with additional parking, or online at busybunniesnurseries.co.uk. Call 01733 897799 to book your visit today. Busy Bunnies Nurseries, where children hop into a brighter future.
At Cake Inn, all our cakes and slices are freshly baked for that delicious taste. At Cake Inn, we bake 100% vegetarian and halal eggless fresh queen cakes. Delicious flavoured cakes for birthdays and weddings, ceremonies and all other occasions, with free customised messages, even balloons and candles too. Order for delivery or collection from Cake Inn, 489 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PE, and your cake could be ready within 2 hours. Find out more and order online at cakeinn.co.uk or call 01733 496 584.
Moving house? Feeling overwhelmed? Boxes everywhere? Ivet Self Storage can help. Our secure, clean and modern facility, Peterborough's preferred choice, gives you the extra space you need with 24/7 security and easy access. So instead of tripping over boxes, store them with us and breathe easy. Visit Ivet, spelt IVATT, selfstorage.co.uk today. Because moving is hard enough.
Whether you're eating in or ordering for collection or delivery, Big Mouth at 349 Lincoln Road in Peterborough is the place for all the family favourites you know and love. But now it's even better, as loaded fries, grilled and smashed burgers, peri-peri strips and wings have been added to Big Mouth's mouth-watering menu of pizzas, chicken and so much more. Call in today, order for delivery via Uber Eats or call 01733 201020. Big Mouth's open 11 till 2, 7 days a week.
Gladcare is your community support centre, delivering services you need. Access free English classes for reading, writing, speaking and listening, or a computer course with CV writing, qualified immigration advice and more, including food parcels or supermarket vouchers. Gladcare can help. Also for free yoga and healthy you sessions and monthly coffee mornings with local GPs on site. 316 Gladstone Street and online at gladcare.org.uk. Call 01733 566 343.
It's healthy, nutritional and halal. It's The Lads, your first choice for burgers, pittas, wraps and flame grilled lamb chops and peri-peri chicken. Now with 5 fantastic new flavours, plus sides, grilled salads and milkshakes too. Open daily from 11:30 until 11 p.m. Call in at 15 Cowgate in Peterborough. Order for collection online at thelads.co.uk or by calling Peterborough 562287 or place your Lads delivery order at ubereats.co.uk.
Could you spare a few hours each month to provide support to people who are going through tough times? If so, Peterborough Samaritans are looking for volunteers who are empathetic and open-minded, and we'd love to hear from you. We run regular information sessions where you can find out more about what it means to volunteer for Samaritans. If you are at least 18 years of age and would like to know more, please email volunteer@peterboroughsamaritans.co.uk.
You're listening to Peterborough's community radio, Salam Radio. Salam Radio. 106.2 FM.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back to the Community Connection with Eva and Nisha. This is the show where we showcase what community means to people in Peterborough, the challenges our community faces, and how we can all make it stronger. And today we have been talking about knife crime with our special guest Bilal from Top Yard. Assalamu alaikum, Bilal.
Welcome, Salam.
So before the break, we spoke a lot about the challenges with knife crime, both in Peterborough and across the UK. We spoke about stats, we spoke about Bilal's personal story, and we also spoke about some of the systemic issues, especially with policing, that have been revealed by knife crime incidents over the years. But now we're here to talk about solutions. We're here to talk about some of the fantastic work that's taking place in Peterborough, in the community, to prevent young people in our communities and people of all ages from being drawn into knife crime. So, Bilal, you represent an organisation called Top Yard, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so we've been going for 9 years, looking to go into our 10th year. Alhamdulillah, very busy. Started off quite small and then it just grew. Every 3 years, I think we were moving premises as we were growing. Required a lot of help at the beginning. And as it grew, we went out there with the lads and they competed a lot and we started winning a lot of fights, a lot of tournaments, national champions. And, you know, our stable grew with good quality coaches, a lot of good boxers coming through. And yeah, every 3 years getting bigger and bigger. And yeah, just want to mention thank you to Nisha, because if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't be in a huge premises now in Queensgate.
Oh, don't say that. It's all your hard efforts. I was just like the middleman who just connected all the dots.
MashaAllah. Well, tell us that story then. How did Top Yard come to be in Queensgate?
Yeah, so I think it was my brother got a call from yourself, and you know, you were mentioning that, you know, we were at Fengate, and I mean, it was a good sized premises. People were complaining it's a little bit out of the way. I don't think it is, because Peterborough is a huge place, and you know, in bigger cities, places are a lot further away. So yeah, Nisha, I think, contacted my brother, spoke about possible space available, and we know that you've got a gym, but you know, what do you think about this place? At that time, there were a few. We were thinking, you know, they'll be looking at other opportunities, basically. And yeah, I think my brother went down, had a viewing. I had a look as well. And I was like, oh wow, I remember this particular unit because Argos used to be there. So while we were growing up, you know, we knew that was a really big place, and I think we had several meetings and viewings and with the Queensgate management, and they needed to do their due diligence, and they had to do all their checks on us, and the fact that we are you know, part of England boxing, which is you know, a very good organisation, reputable, and us being part of the American Academy as well. All that fitted in nicely into them being very excited about it, and because the fact that we already were running for nearly 9 years, they knew that we were established, and it's not just like somebody going in and then just having a crack at it.
So I think that was your biggest strength. You were already set up, you're already doing good work. It wasn't like a new grassroots organisation that needed support. Basically, it was a case of a space was identified, the space needed to be filled. It was my idea about the boxing thing, because that space there couldn't be anything else, I don't think, because it had pillars. It's quite
enclosed, isn't it?
It's enclosed. It's got pillars, but it reminded me of Rocky. So it all goes back to like when I saw it, I was like, what could we have in this space? It has to be filled. And then you came to mind, because I've worked with you guys in the past. Yeah. Like for the last, I think during COVID, after COVID. Yeah,
you used to come to our gym.
Yeah, I used to come to
sessions, the female classes.
The female classes. And I actually started working with your brother first on like writing bids and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I met you afterwards. But yeah, so that came to mind. I was like, this would suit a boxing club. And that's exactly what was in my head. And I thought of you guys, because I thought, this project, the Alliance project. It is under the umbrella of the Alliance project, which I'll discuss a bit more in a bit. But that the project was about helping people in the Alliance area, the more disadvantaged areas of Peterborough. And I saw the kids that you're taking off the street and going into your boxing gym. So it just made sense. It all made sense to have you boys in there.
And we grew up in that area.
Yeah.
So automatically
you knew it really well.
Something close to, like, when me and my brother spoke about it, we were like, oh my God, we're literally like a 10-minute walk into where we used to live.
Definitely.
So it was something like, it's a no-brainer.
So it
for
made
us.
perfect sense. And tell us a bit more about what a week looks like for Top Yard, or what a month looks like. What's your program? What do you offer?
Oh, it's quite hectic, because, boxing is that kind of sport where if you compete, it is like you're literally training 6 days a week. And it's very tough, very competitive. You've got to be in the best condition of your life, mentally and physically. So a lot of that goes to it. I have a day job. I work in IT. So my typical days are, we have our carded fighters classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We have a development class as well. Those who are young kids looking to become boxers, because you can compete at the age of 10. So our job is to get them ready. We've got a team of 7 to 8 coaches qualified. And we have Tuesday evening sessions for non-carded fighters, but those who want to get fit, pads, bags, circuit training, learn self-defense. We have classes on a Sunday as well for kids and adults. So we are basically open most evenings and some daytime on weekends. We've got a class for everyone and anyone, and it's not about you have to be a boxer, you have to go in there, get punched in the face. It's not like that. It used to be like that back in the days when we used to compete. They used to chuck you in and say, go and fight each other. But nowadays, obviously, it's a lot different, a lot of safeguarding. So the kind of message we give out to everyone is, doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter what condition you're in, come along, give it a go, and you'll enjoy it. It's very, very good fitness. It keeps the kids off their PlayStations, off the streets. And and if they really want to do it, we can help them progress and fight for England.
I think for me, different organisations have different culture around it, like their ethos. Some are quite hardcore. You have to be a certain way, then you get kicked out if you don't hit this target or whatever. That's what I liked about Top Yard, because although I'm not saying that you have fighters at a professional level, however, you have a mixture of kids just who want to come in and do boxing, because it is it's quite a trendy sport, and it's not a sport that everyone...
We try to make it fun for the youngsters.
It's fun and trendy to be part of, like, a boxing club.
Yeah.
But that's what I love about it, because you've got, like you said, you're away in the weekends. I got to know you guys a bit more about your timetables and stuff. You're away in the weekends doing professional fighters, training professional fighters, going up. I'm not very good with, like, the tables, the terminology. But then, you've got all that professional side, but then you've got the community element, which is just...
That was very important to us.
Yeah, so it's affordable. It's something that people can come in and just have a go at. But also, you're not picky about who you take on. So my son, he's not a boxer. He's does wrestling, but he comes in for stamina. Do you remember, like, I just had to you, if wrestling isn't on or whatever, I always come to you, and then you just like... bring him on the community sessions, because you have community sessions where other kids from different backgrounds, like footballers as well, don't they? They come for stamina building,
MMA fighters.
Yeah, so I think it definitely the definition of Top Yard is it is the community group that gives back to the community, and you're willing to take on the community. And that's every time we talk about stuff, as in, like, funding applications and stuff, you always say that. You said we have that element of community give back. So we have community sessions, and because of the limelight that you've got, I think we spoke about it, didn't you? You've opened like 1 or 2 more community sessions because people are wanting to get involved.
Yeah.
So capacity is probably an issue now. But
look, mashallah, the place is very big, and we can handle the numbers. And I think when we used to move to a premises, because we were busy, the landlord would probably say, "Oh, why can't you just stick it to like boxers only?" And I said, "Look, the whole point of us getting into opening Top Yard and running it was, yes, we've got kids that want to compete, and we'll give them all of our skills and experience and the quality coaching. but we also need to help the community. So that's, for us, that was so important, and that was part of like when we were in Fengate, we made it clear that we need to have classes for the community. Otherwise, we're not going to move in, because we want to give a safe space for everyone.
And everyone's got to start somewhere, right? You
Exactly.
might have a future professional fight.
How are we then gonna get all these youngsters coming through and all that?
Exactly.
Exactly.
And what is the link, in your opinion, between boxing and reducing youth violence, as somebody whose story couldn't have happened without boxing?
From my own experience, I started at the age of 12. Normally age of 8-9 is good, but I started at the age of 12 because I used to do taekwondo at the age of 10, and that was semi-contact. I didn't like it. I wanted something a bit more, I want to say violence, but I wanted a bit more full contact.
You meant violence.
Yeah, maybe them days, yeah. And I think that was the reason we got into it in the first place. But I think the kind of people that we attract now are from all various backgrounds. We've got the traveller background, English, we've even got like the Kurds, Afghanistan, everyone. Mashallah, we cover everyone, and that's what the sport's about. It's like a working class sport. I think our main aim is to carry on with that. We've got a good reputation in the community. Mm-hmm. We've got, and we also the parents can feel safe that all of our coaches are DBS. We've had our DBS checks, safeguarding, first aid, our England qualifications. So that was very important for us as well. So the community part was a definitely a big yes. And like you said, we need to start looking at talent from within the community. Mm-hmm. But for us, I think for me, the most important thing was I've been through it all. So I know that boxing, it kept us away from the streets because we knew that we had to train 6 times a week. So if you're at school all day, you go to the mosque as well, and then you're training as well, you've got no time to mess around or get up to no good, because if you're going out late night, you're not resting, you're not going to recover for your training sessions. If you mess around, the way I used to see it was, if I don't put my full focus in training and keep working hard, I'm going to get beaten up in the ring. And then when you go out fighting, when you're winning, you think, wow, that was all worth it, all that sacrifice. And that kept us away from even the nightlife in the young early years of going out like our friends used to. So if I know it's worked for like me and my brother and many other people out there, it is definitely something that would help the kids, because you've got to start from a young age, and that's what it is.
And I think it's also about understanding youth, the reason why they get into gang violence and they get attached to even being a part of a gang is because they want to feel like they're part of a group. So a vulnerable youngster who's out there on the streets, he will see a gang, doing all sorts, like drug dealing with knives, going back to the knife crime, and it becomes cool because they become a part of the gang. But then if you think about it, if they become a part of Top Yard, that is their equivalent. And they have people like yourself and your brother who are, like, to them, are icons or people they look up to, especially the ones that don't have parents that are so involved as well. Where they see it, the role models is through people like you who they'll have regular contact with. The same with when you have like a good teacher at school. So I think is really important, because that replacement of that gang culture is Top Yard effectively, or groups like Top Yard, or the sports sessions that you join, or the football club that you join, or back in the days it was the youth club that you joined. But you keep saying there's lack of youth.
Welcome as well.
Exactly.
So because you're all one family. So
I remember when we chatted, Bilal, you told me, you go, some of these kids, they need discipline.
Yes.
And you said, then
we are strict with them.
We're really strict, and we tell them, if you don't dress well, whatever, you come in late, or you have to be with it.
Talking around or messing around, and just give them loads of burpees. That generally works. So the parents do say to us, look, they're yours, deal with it. They are sitting there watching, and we just punish them via burpees, and they hate it.
They hate
so,
it. Don't mess, you get a burpee.
20 burpees.
Mashallah. But
and I think the important thing that you mentioned is that payoff as well. It's the fact that if you do work hard, if you do work on yourself, if you do, as Gen Z say, lock in, then there's going to be an outcome at the end. And are there any amazing stories or success stories or I guess proud moments that you've had with some of the young people in the club that you want to share?
Yeah, many. I mean, I remember one lad joined us from Whittlesea. For example, like Jerry Mike, he joined us at the age of 13, 14, and quite raw, talented, quite raw, and his brother boxes as well. Parents are very much supporting their kids, and for parents it's hard as well because they've got to make sure the kids are resting well, eating right, make sure they're getting out there, running and training and bringing them to the sessions. They come all the way. They used to come all the way from even Wiz Beach before and things like that. So that story in itself is a success because just this last season he became a national champion, and it all came on BBC News, and it was an amazing achievement for him and his family. And that was a great success story because he joined us when he only had a few fights, and now he's hitting over 20 fights. And what that did for the rest of the club was that they want a piece of that. They want to become, they want to be competing at a high level because it is a buzz. I mean, look, like I said, I've been through it myself. When you win, it's such an amazing feeling. You feel proud of yourself, and it just keeps you going. And that's something that you need to do. The kids in the community need a goal. They, train really hard, and then once they get, I mean, look, we just had Amir Khan come 2 months ago, and when he came, we had about 200-300 people in that venue, and everyone was like so happy. And he gave the kids pads, pad work, and signing their gloves, and the parents made videos, and they were such a proud moment that we see the same kids now coming regularly to the gym because and he was telling them, if I can do it, you kids can do it.
But also,
I think this is a good point to come on to. The reason why, one of the reasons why Top Yard is such a key player in terms of relationships with the council and the police and public services at the moment. Tell us a bit about the Alliance project and how that strategy brings all this work in the community together.
Yes, so the Alliance project is a Home Office project which was identified similar to the cases that I've just spoken about, knife crime being rising throughout the last 2 decades. Organised crime has risen over the last decade or so. There are some pilot areas that have been identified by the Home Office to be problematic, where there's more organised crimes than other areas, and Peterborough is one of the pilots. So it's come through the police, Peterborough Police Force, and they identified an area which is yet to be kind of with the boundaries in, because we're trying to speak about expanding the area, but it is the Millfield area, it is Lincoln Road, it's all the familiar places that the kids from Top Yard come from as well. So a part of that project has actually allowed us to identify groups like Top Yard to become a part of the Alliance, which is the renamed version of the initial project, and to be a part of it, and then to come to it, discuss, open a dialogue with the police to say what are the areas we want to focus on. The council, myself, and other departments within the council, like licensing, like infrastructure, like the problem solving safety team as well. We are all working together to identify core objectives to improve the area of the Alliance area, and it's because of that involvement that Top Yard actually took that step to become a part of that Alliance, because there is lack of confidence in the police, and initially there was some backlash from it not to be a part of the project because they've seen it before, which is understandable. But for groups like Top Yard, for FC Peterborough, for Next Gen, for Thora, all these grassroots organisations that have come forward and said, actually, we'll try and be a part of it, and we'll come to the meetings and we'll give our feedback. That has actually opened this door.
Yeah, certainly, yeah.
Without the Alliance project, I think
we wouldn't be there.
You wouldn't be there, but I just wanted to make it clear that there was a lot of hard work that went into it. What was the first thing I said to you, Bilal, when I first approached you about the gym? I said, firstly, like, do you really want it? If you do, it's not going to be easy. There's a lot of like legalities and things we have to go through to get the place, but you were 100% all the way, and it was like a good 6 months.
6 months, I think it was. We
hard
thought
grafting.
it'd be 2-3 months, but it wasn't
It was
easy.
one hurdle after the other, wasn't it? It wasn't easy. It was
a
like
lot of challenges, but alhamdulillah,
loads
we
of
got
mini
there.
meetings. He was working full time. I was working, like, I'm still working full time, but like it was just getting it through that through the door. But the whole point of the Alliance project is identifying opportunities for youngsters to come off the street to tackle organised crime in that area.
And thank you to Queensgate Shopping Centre.
Let's give them a shout out.
Yeah, I mean, they had. They definitely were with it all. But as the time went on, and when they saw our setup and what we were doing, I think they were really amazed. And even people way above them who own the whole of Queensgate, I think they were very happy with
that event. Brought in some colour
Yeah.
into Queensgate, because culture and colour, and they were really happy about the whole
and
thing.
they support it massively.
Massively. And they're really
buzzing on,
nice
they're
people, aren't they?
motivated. Yeah.
And now they've is it Root and Rise?
Root and Rise project.
Root and
Yeah,
Rise project you're involved
bit
with.
more of that hopefully coming soon.
Yeah. That's
Root and
another
Rise
show.
project. Yeah, that's another show.
Another show for the future then, inshallah. But there's some amazing messages there as well about the nature of community work. I mean, Bilal, you have your full-time job. Nisha, you're the reverse. You're full-time working in community and also do a billion other things outside. It is a lot of work off your own back to get involved in the community. It is sometimes a graft, but the payoff is always worth it. And Nisha, is there anything else you'd like to shed some light on in terms of the work that is taking place to engage young people, engage the community, address some of those breakdowns in communication between public services and those out there on the ground that have happened over the years?
Yeah, so we are doing mini projects with the police. So we have like once a month catch up. I've pushed for having face-to-face meetups with the police so the public can come forward, and there's always good things that are coming out of it. So some of the issues that are being tackled, which have been highlighted by the public over and over again, are about licensing gambling places and liquor places in Lincoln Road, working with the licensing team to kind of reduce those. These are things that have always come up, but there is hope at the end of the tunnel, and I can see that the police are making effort with that. It is a council thing as well, so we are working really hard to do that. Increasing public awareness, so the police are trying to come out and be a part of public engagement, to come and listen to them and have like drop-in sessions with existing organisations that are delivering stuff. The focus on youth violence is something that we're working with different partners in different ways, but just going back to Eva, if I talk about the Black Leaders Group as well, because the McPherson's report highlighted things like recruitment within the police force. So we do meet up with the Black Leaders Group, and they are having one-to-one sessions with the police for recruitment of black officers into the police force. So that just shows you that this national report highlighted a flaw in the police, in the Metropolitan Police, and it's 2 decades on, but we're still trying. And that's the message I want to give away, that people like organisations like Bilal's organisation and all the grassroots organisations are trying to take the lead on helping youth in the area, because the youth are our future. And if we don't look after our future,
invest in them,
then it's just going to be gang after gang.
Yeah. They'll just turn to all
Organised
sorts just to
crime.
get
Yeah.
And getting young people's voices involved in the conversation too is an important step. I mean, my day job is in youth voice. It's my job to go out and about and speak to young people and find out what they think we're getting right and we're not getting right as public sector leaders. So inshallah, all of this work that Nisha and her team are doing to involve members of the community, and also the approach of the Alliance project as a collaborative piece of work that recognises that public services like the council and the police can't do it alone, is so important. And inshallah, you both feel as people working in the community that this is an opportunity for organisations to really be heard in that partnership. Bilal, where can people find out more about Top Yard? Parents, young people, how can they discover your opportunities?
I mean, they could go on our Facebook page, Top Yard School of Boxing Peterborough, and they can message us on there. Obviously, a lot of us coaches work full time, so we're volunteers. So that's why we have to have specific class times. I mean, in the future that could change depending on how we structure the organisation and what things we put in place. But at the moment, we've always run like this because it kind of fits into our full-time jobs. And then obviously we have our evening time for the boxers and for the community. So yeah, just send us a message on Top Yard School of Boxing. We can then share exactly what days and times. We do ask a few questions about your background. What have you done? Are you a beginner? Okay, this class will suit you. And that's what we do. And mashallah, alhamdulillah, we've got a lot of members. A lot. Really busy.
A lot more.
Yeah, a lot more now.
Queensgate.
Being in Queensgate, yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm sure having the bigger venue has made a big impact.
Yeah.
But the message today for parents, carers, young people, organisations who are supporting with knife crime and youth violence and maybe want to get their offer heard, reach out to us, send a message to the show, and we'd love to hear from you, and also to hear any stories you've got about how knife crime has impacted you. We've been the Community Connection, and we are back every other Tuesday at 7 p.m, and inshallah we will see you next time. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for